is a very big grade, very fine. It goes all the way from 20 to 39.
35.
Well,
39.
39.
There are some numbers we don't use.
Right. And then there's extremely fine, and XF goes from 40 to 50, well, 40 to 49.
40. Well, like I said,
yeah. It's 40, 43, and 45, yeah. It's 30, 33, and 35, right?
Nope.
Or is it just 30 and 35?
Nope. VF goes VF 20, VF 25, VF 30, VF 35.
Right.
And then XF starts at 40
and 45.
45. Yep.
Right. And then AU, you have AU 50, 53, 55, 58.
They throw some dividers in there.
Well, yeah, because when you get to AU, people start getting really picky about it.
Oh, and it's a 10-point grade, so I mean, it's a grade that just like Mint State, there are different, from Mint State 60 to Mint State 70, there's a lot of difference.
Yeah.
And the same goes for an AU 50 to an AU 58.
And now comes the grade that really kind of differentiates us old folk from the rest of you, and that is what we used to refer to as uncirculated coins are referred to as mint state coins, and more correctly identified as mint state coins, because it really isn't about whether or not they've circulated. It's about whether they show signs of it.
Yeah.
So it really is about the state that they're in rather than, have they circulated? And people got really hung up on that.
Yeah, because mint state coins, and I think that's kind of why they call them mint state coins today, because uncirculated was slightly confusing, because uncirculated coins could still have circulated. They just didn't pick up anywhere. So,
and even today, you get people that ask on coin forums and stuff like that. They'll be like, "Well, I got this in change. How can it be uncirculated?" Well, if there's no signs of wear, the coin is technically uncirculated.
That's right.
So I was always taught to break MS into basically 60, 63, 65, and 67. That was the way I was always taught to break it.
So that's back in the old school days.
Yes, that's before TPGs. That's before grading services.
That's UNC, Choice UNC, Gem, and Choice Gem, right?
Choice Gem, right. Exactly.
Old school.
That's old school, but that was really all you needed.
Yeah, oh sure.
And it still is, I think, all you need, but that's just me being old. So anyway, I think that for the purposes of rock grading, that's really all you need, with the exception of the addition of 69 and 70 for some of the Mint's new bullion coins.
Yeah, those are kind of, yeah.
I will admit to the existence of the coins in 69 and 70. The one thing that I think we really need to be clear on is that 70 does not mean that the coin is perfect.
No.
It just doesn't mean it's perfect. It means that it meets 100% of the standard for MS-70. That's what it means.
But see, the thing is, a lot of the older type grading guides don't even talk about 70. I mean, it just didn't exist. There was no such thing as a perfect coin. Well, so that's a modern thing that's come along with the advent of the third-party grading services.
I also think that as the technology has gotten better, it has.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It has. And therein lies where the threshold is. People have a hard time accepting. Well, if they exist now, they haven't always existed, because the minting processes that they used to make the coins, to make the dies, to make all the equipment, it's different. And so now you have much different processes in place.
Would you believe there are Morgan dollars that are graded MS-69?
Yeah, actually, I've seen one.
I know, they're weird looking.
Oh my God, but they're beautiful.
They are beautiful.
They're unbelievable.
But
it is like coins, the most monster Morgan you've ever seen.
But those coins have always existed.
Well, yes, but Morgans are different, because here's the thing about Morgans. Morgans sat for years and years and years in these vaults.
I know.
Where nobody cared about them, and they just sat there. They weren't actively traded. They didn't move from place to place. They weren't in anybody's collection. The only thing they were collecting was dust.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, back in the days when they were calling things MS-65, MS-67, there were these coins out there floating around.
So back to grading.
Oh, I'm sorry. I digress.
Yes. So for proof, I was taught never to differentiate except maybe by superlative for the surfaces, such as, cameo or deep cameo. And I understand the new processes is the MIT, like we were just talking, creates coins above proof 67 with regularity. And maybe it's time to develop those written, more written standards for those grades. Because there really aren't any written standards on what makes a 68, a 69, or a 70.
Yeah.
I
can see that.
Lift the veil of secrecy, and I think you get more acceptance. I think people are really worried about being pinned down. That's where I think the grading services are coming from. And they're worrying that people might manufacture to that standard, you know what I mean?
Try to get to that, try to make everything
well, figure out where the finish line is, and just make the finish line.
Yeah.
Instead of making the best product that you can and letting them judge it.
But I mean, if every coin comes out of 70, then technically aren't they making the best product they can?
Well,
I mean, just just put that out there.
So now, slabbed coins, third-party graded coins, are a totally different animal. However, an understanding of why a graded coin is so different and why it matters to you, should start with the discussion of when does a coin become a candidate for grading, and when does it become beneficial to grade a coin, Matt?
I have this conversation a lot.
But it's a good conversation to have.
Oh, it is. At the shop, we're authorized dealers for both PCGS and NGC. And what this means is basically those companies have given us a seal of approval saying that, we understand the process. We are able to help customers submit their coins for grading. So because of that, I have this conversation a lot with people. When it comes to our coins, we kind of tend to not grade most coins that have a value of $200 or less. And that's just simply for our business, because $200 and less coins, we can just put them in the case and we'll get close to, or if not the same price for them when we sell them. Just simply because collectors are going to buy them, they're going to put them in their book, and that's going to be what they do with them. When you get to coins that kind of cross that $200 threshold, in my opinion, it's worth having a conversation, at least. Should I certify this coin? Because it does offer a couple layers of protection. The first being, obviously, that it's a good storage method for the coin. But it also offers the protection of A, originality, B, the fact that it has never been cleaned, and C, it offers you a solid numerical grade that you can base your valuations upon. So they do cross that threshold in our shop, fairly often, and we submit a lot of coins to get certified. Good Lord, I would say
you do submit a lot of coins. I know that.
I haven't counted it from last year yet, but I would say that we probably, with NGC and PCGS, had between 400 and 500 orders of various amounts of coins.
You guys should have one of those tube chutes like they have at the bank. I'm serious. That goes from your place right to NGC, right to PCGS. There it goes in the little tube.
Well, the Postal Service works pretty well for that. So,
yeah.
But, and we have done last year more than most any other year, actually. We did a lot more customer submissions. We get people all the time that, they bring coins to us. What we try to do when somebody brings us a coin is give them, our honest opinion of if they should or shouldn't grade it. And we try to give them an idea of what it's going to grade, even though we try to preface that with, we're not the grading companies. We don't know what they're going to do, but this is what it should grade.
I found your advice in that regard to be pretty well nailed on, though.
Well,
seriously,
when you send in 400 or 500 orders a year, you get pretty good at it.
Yeah.
In just knowing what the different companies like, what they look for, and kind of how they grade, because they do grade differently from each other. They do grade different coins slightly differently, and I say differently. It's not like an MS66 from PCGS is going to be an MS62 from NGC. It's not that. It is just certain series of coins tend to, I don't want to say do better, but tend to be more accurately graded at one company or the other, just depending on what it is.
Yes, I think that it should be stated that each grading service has their specialty. And okay,
they will never admit that.
Let's be clear about this. That we, at least I know that I believe that you have PCGS, you have NGC, and then you have everybody else.
Nobody else matters.
And nobody else really matters. Although I will tell you that
I feel really bad about this.
Yes, because you have Annex.
Well, I was at a coin show the other day, and a guy whipped out a giant box of Annex coins, and just off the cuff, I said, and I was talking to Sam actually, and I said, "Oh, Annex, just treat those like they're raw," because I didn't even think about it, but the guy was sitting there. But yeah, I mean that's kind of how we have to deal with those.
Right.
Another thing that we run into a lot is people like to have certain coins certified just for the fact, just to know if they're genuine or not. Great example, 16D dimes. 16D dimes are tough. I don't know if you've ever had to authenticate a ton of these things.
Yeah, I've had to do a few of them. And I've been wrong a bunch of times.
Well, in low grade, they get really, really hard.
Yeah, they're sketchy, man.
They are really hard to tell. So, and if a 16D dime walks in our store, 90% of the time, it's a good or less. It's usually AG3.
Yeah. Almost everyone you see is AG3 or worse.
And that is a great candidate for a coin that almost every time just needs to be certified.
Yes,
because it cuts out a lot of the questions, and it makes it saleable for whoever, whether it's the dealer that's getting it certified or the customer that wants to put it in their collection and pass it down to their kids. Eventually that coin's going to get sold someday. So it definitely has that amount, that extra added protection.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of other coins that are hard to authenticate right offhand. I mean, obviously the ultra rarities, but a lot of people don't run into that kind of stuff. Coins that even as a coin dealer you never see. For example, 95 proof Morricans. Great coin that needs to be certified. I mean, there are thousands and thousands of fakes for every real coin.
O1S Barber Quarters.
O1S Barber Quarters is another good one.
Yeah.
Because once again, that's a coin that comes in low grade every time almost.
Yep.
So those coins that are hard to authenticate and come low grade like that are coins that I always recommend to get certified. But again, that's coins that vastly exceed the $200 threshold that I kind of put on our stuff.
Yeah.
Another one, 09 SVDBs, great example. They're very heavily counterfeited. There are some very deceiving counterfeits out there. So that's another coin that pretty much, if somebody brings it in, you should probably certify this coin.
Well, you can take a $10 coin and turn it into a $500 coin. So
exactly.
there's a lot of incentive to do that.
Yeah.
So the grading services, provide a really valuable service with that. But from a grading standpoint, their grades actually do mean something as well. And most of it has to do with the value down the road when a collector no longer owns them. When it comes time for them to be sold, that's when having an expert opinion on grade and an agreed upon expert is really what the TPGs, what the graders have become.
Yeah, and it does help, definitely. I deal with estates quite often, and you would be amazed at the amount of times that we see coins in estates that somebody has done some sort of online research and says that, this here's a $800 coin, and it's it's a circulated 1942 war nickel. They've just looked online. They don't understand what the grading is. They see an MS67 or whatever that sells for $900. And I got me one of them. So we see that a lot.
It's in really good shape.
It's in great shape. It's been polished and a rag's taken to it. And, we see that a lot. But on the other side of that, I ran into a family not too long ago that had a couple of patterns, and I mean, some really actually rare stuff.